naturtrüb und erfrischend fruchtig. Richtig lecker. Krombacher Radler Naturtrüb. Der kräftige Radlergenuss aus naturtrübem Krombacher Kellerbier und fruchtiger Zitronenlimonade. Erfrischend fruchtig und weniger süß im Geschmack. Krombacher Radler Naturtrüb. Probieren Sie es selbst.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. Welcome you to this conversation. Welcome to Vashti and Rosemary and Amelia and the other guests that are logging in and listening. So welcome to this program. Before I start, I'd like to thank Amelia Santara and her family in Ireland and from the Kingdom of Kerry in Ireland for sponsorship of this show. I would like to thank Eileen Laurel and Ed, whose last name will go unnamed. I'd like to thank Glenn Ola and Eileen Laurel for their assistance and help in bringing this information to the many people who would be called to receive it. Some other areas of exploration for this information would be Kundalini Awakening Systems, #1.com. So that's Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com. You can get the information there. You can also go to Chrism Kundalini on YouTube. That will take you to about over 250 videos specifically about the Kundalini. You can also go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups or Kundalini Awakening ! At Facebook, as well as Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 on Facebook. So welcome everyone, and today's topic is going to be about spiritual modalities, religions, spiritual understandings, practices such as Reiki or yoga or Vipassana, things of that nature, so, and how they integrate with Kundalini. Before I do so, I believe Santara would like to make an announcement. Hello, Santara.
Hello, Cousin. May I say first of all that I'm having difficulty with the chat room. I got a new app, but it's just not working.
I can see it fine, Amelia. On your
okay.
iPad, it's going to be difficult.
Yes, well, just to let you know that, so I won't be able to help there. So yesterday I wrote on the Yahoo group that the donate button there on the main Kundalini Awakening website has not been functioning for quite a while due to circumstances beyond the control of CARS. But the donate button that I refer to here each week is not that one. It's the one that is on Chris's Blogspot page, and that donate button is up and running. And the address is ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And if you go to the top right-hand side, you will find the donate button. And this is really a very easy and very safe and efficient way to donate. And as I always say, please know that there is no requirement to donate and there is no pressure to do so. However, donations are accepted with love and gratitude for the support they provide directly to Chris himself and indirectly to everyone his teachings reach. And, teaching about Kundalini and offering support and information is Chris's full-time work and sacred work that graces and supports people all around the world that are in the Kundalini awakening process. So I'll give you that again if you are in a position and want to make a donation. The address is Ascension, ASCEN-Kundalini.blogspot.com. So that's it, Chrism. I'm looking forward to the show.
Thank you, Amelia. And just so the folks in the United States understand, in Ireland they pronounce A as A. So she's saying ASCEN, SION, hyphen Kundalini at Blogspot, and Blogspot is spelled BLOGSPOT. Okay, so let's get into this. All paths of human spiritual exploration lead to Kundalini. All paths. Starting, from the basic primeval shamanism and the incorporation or the ingestion of light-bearing plants to your most modern, we'll just use the Crystal Cathedral there in Orange County, Los Angeles. I mean, to your most modern televangelist experience. Touch my hand and be saved. This all relates to Kundalini. It all goes to Kundalini by whatever name you call it. Just as Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name will still smell as sweet. And enlightenment or Kundalini by any other name will still do what it does to an individual. Call it anything you want. I know that the Christians like to call something of the magnitude of a Kundalini awakening, the blessing of the Holy Spirit, things of that nature. I got no problem with that. That's all good, and all the various in the Amazon basin, it's the awakening of the red serpent energy, and the any culture, every culture on this world, where the human beings within that culture have a spinal column and a spinal cord, they will have a name for the Kundalini that is dormant at the beginning of the spinal cord, which is the coccyx or the tailbone. So please, I'm going to ask you to expand your understandings, expand your levels of belief to incorporate the fact that we are given a multitude of choices to explore our own spiritual dimension, our own inner dimension. And, some people will walk a Christian path, some people will walk a Hindu path, some people will walk a shamanic path, some people will walk an Islamic path. There's so many different paths to choose from. But they all eventually they lead to Kundalini. And within that context, the Kundalini is all-inclusive. All-inclusive. Now, this isn't to say that the language within the books or the doctrines of these many belief systems will agree with Kundalini. Many of them won't. But, that's just a reflection of the doctrine, not a reflection on the Kundalini. Okay. People in one sort of religious affiliation won't even like the word Kundalini. It doesn't sound like it's something that they're familiar with. I mean, they just won't be comfortable with it. It would have to be, a name or a word that comes from within the definitions of their belief system, such as the Holy Spirit in Christianity. But Kundalini is pervasive. It is in everybody's spine. Therefore, based upon that person's karma and their current belief system, will the Kundalini begin to refine their soul experience to the degree that they can have it in this life and express through it in this life. And so many people say, I'm just going to use the Christian as an example right now. They use many different formats. Philip St. Romain, was a very, very staunch Catholic, and he wrote a book called Kundalini and Christianity, I believe is what it's called. And I'll suggest you read that book. It's a good book for those of you who are very, very strong in the Christian belief system and the
Hello, everybody. It looks as if Kristen has actually gone offline for a moment, and hopefully he's going to come back again. Now the other person's after going online. I'm not sure if I can actually be heard or not. So I will go. Oh no! Oh dear. The studio has disappeared as well from my. Okay, I have no idea if I can be heard or not, so I will continue on and hopefully Kristen will come back again. What am I going to talk about? Let me see. The last time this actually happened, I think what I did was I spoke about the safety. So maybe I could do that again. I actually I think I've lost. I don't think I'm live on air at all. I keep pressing the button here, continue. It keeps offering me to end the episode, and if we get cut off.
Hey, hello.
Oh, you're
I'm back. I don't know why I got cut off somehow, some way. Stay online, Centaur.
Actually, I'd stay online, yes.
Okay. So just hang on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know what you were saying. I'm calling from a different phone because my cell phone has been disconnected, so I'm on this landline using a calling card. So if I get disconnected, Centaur, you just continue the conversation with your own experiences, okay?
Okay,
Is that all right, Centaur?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, yeah.
Okay, where I left off, and I may get cut off again, folks. I'm sorry for this problem, but it is the reality of the situation right here is for me to use this mechanism for what we're doing here. And so if I do get cut off, then Centaur's going to step right on in with her own experiences. And feel free to call in. The guest call in is 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. You're going to hear some birds in the background. That's because Barb here has a... oh, jeez. Yep, they're all saying hello. There's kind of a rescue sanctuary here for animals, and she's got turtles and birds and dogs and a cat. And anyway, so you're going to hear them in the background, and I hope it's not too distracting for you. Just a second here. Anyway, so with the religions and the different practices, it's going to have a definitive effect upon the Kundalini. And I think I was talking about Philip St. Romain. Philip St. Romain is a person who was, as I mentioned before, a staunch Catholic, and he started really getting involved in his belief system and was, praying and all the time and going to church during the week, not just on Sundays, and really getting into it in a very, very sincere, strong fashion. And his Kundalini awakened because of that. And I'll leave you to read the rest of his story in his book. Once again, the title of his book is Christianity and Kundalini. And you may find it fairly informative. With regards to any of the religions, if you practice a form of spirituality that is strong and sincere in the way you practice it, well, then you too may have the Kundalini awaken. And typically, those that have it awaken within the practice of their spiritual, their chosen spiritual belief system, they will connect it to that belief system, and there is room for that. Jesus, Mary, God, Holy Spirit, apostles, Bible, they can all be seen within the context of Kundalini. You know, Jesus, sacred male, Mary, sacred female, Holy Spirit, divine energy. Okay, apostles would be equal to saints or students of the divine male and female. Apostles and people in general can be seen as the sacred children. So, you know, there's a lot of room for people to move within the Kundalini, within their chosen belief system. Santara?
Yes, Chris, I'm sorry for the time delay. It's the iPad, yeah?
Yeah, the iPads. Yeah, I totally understand that. I'm not at my computer, so if you have a caller with a question, please feel free to interrupt me, okay?
Yes, I will. Does that mean you're not seeing the chat anymore?
I'm not sitting in the kitchen because of the amount of noise from the birds.
Okay, so just once they know that in the chat room that you won't be, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So those of you in the chat room, if you have a question, call into Santara and you know, ask her the question, or just call into the show and ask me the question. The number, once again, is 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. And hello, Tim Ashworth. Good to see you. Looks like Tim is writing a question. So here I am in the kitchen. Forgive the bird noise. And let's see what you got there, Tim. I'll just continue while you're typing your question. With regards to any belief system, the Kundalini is of a divine nature, and so any belief system that postulates or works within the realm of the divine, the Kundalini will shine through. You know, if I do get bumped off, and I can't tell you that I won't, Amelia will come on, and she'll kind of give a bit of her experience from an Irish Catholic point of reference, and how she has been able to experience the Kundalini and find balance within the Kundalini with her upbringing as a Irish Catholic person based in Christianity. So, but if you have a Buddhist background or a Hindu background or an Islamic background, all of this comes under the purview of the Kundalini. Actually, all of life and the expressions of life of a human being come under the purview of Kundalini. We are all spirits in this body, and you know, we're consciousness in a body. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever seen a dead person. I've seen, you know, my fair share of dead people, and it literally looks like the body of a person looks like a puppet that has just, you know, nobody's holding it by its strings anymore. It's just lifeless. It's just like a glove, you know, and in some cases the glove is new, some cases the glove is old, but it's just a glove without a hand in it. It's a piece of clothing that nobody's wearing. That's how a body is when it's dead. You know, except for your emotional attachment to the person, the body is really a vehicle or a glove for the soul or the spirit to inhabit. And so as we gradually evolve our way back from a dependence upon materiality and physicality and the dense physical expressions of spirit in matter or in density, we really begin to move our way back into spirit, back into the divine truth that we all are as unique points of spiritual consciousness. the religions and the modalities of belief system on this world simply serve to help us evolve. And so, practice your religion. Be happy with your religion. Know that if you look strongly enough within your belief system, you will find opportunities to understand and find balance within your Kundalini awakening experience. And this includes having all the kriyas and all the entities and all the thoughts and all the mood swings and all the physiological phenomena, spiritual phenomena, energetic phenomena that comes with the Kundalini awakening. Now, some belief systems may not cover those aspects. And because they don't cover it, because they don't know about it, they label it as being evil. It's not evil. Okay? It's just that they don't know about it. And because they don't know about it, therefore, they don't understand it. And what they don't understand, they tend to fear. So, let's see here. Tim is asking a question. I would particularly like to know how to distinguish between a Kundalini awakening and plain old depression. Also, what does having a Kriya indicate? Kriya indicates that the Kundalini is moving unasked for and unaided by the conscious mind. It's moving itself through the body, such as
Okay, well, if after happening again, Kristen has got cut off, so I will continue. And Kristen has asked me to talk a little bit about my own experience. So, as he said, I was raised in the Catholic tradition. In our house, we prayed a lot. We went to church regularly, not just on Sundays. We went to church during the week, during special religious times such as Easter. We went to church quite a lot, actually. Every day, could be every day for a week. So I was brought up in an atmosphere of prayer and devotion, and there were ceremonies in the church called the devotions, and we went to those too. And I suppose when I was a child, before I became aware of church dogma and church rules, I was very much in love with God. And God to me was real. I had, I think, what would be called mystical experiences as a child. And I can remember very clearly wanting to be with God and, but not realizing that my parents would really miss me. Oh, Prism is back. Okay, Prism.
Go ahead and finish your thought, Amelia. Finish your thought.
Okay. I was just saying, realizing that my parents would miss me. But that relationship with God and with the divine began within the context of a Christian Catholic upbringing. I will continue, Prism, if you get cut off again.
No, that's okay. I want to answer Tim's question. Sorry about the disconnect there, Tim. I don't know why this phone's disconnecting. But I've never used it for this show before, and it's much easier with the cell phone, but that isn't working. So the depression aspect of it is depression will feel like depression. You'll have negative self-worth. You won't feel happy about life. You won't feel happy about a lot of different things in general. Kundalini can expand that if you focus so much on it. And so the difference between just plain old depression and Kundalini enhanced depression is that level of enhancement. The level of enhancement can be quite strong, and so you're going to need to, anybody would need to make any kind of a change in how they're spending their time. Are they getting outside? Are you breathing? Are you feeling? Are you allowing yourself to experience gratitude? Are you allowing yourself to experience forgiveness and love and tolerance and patience? There's nobility within your experience, but you just have to find it, and you have to explore it to find it. You don't just get depressed and then have Kundalini back it up with a big amplification and then sit down on the couch and go, oh, geez, what the heck? I mean, sometimes we'll do that. But for the most part, I will suggest that you get up and get out of the house, get into the environment, and begin to understand that this is just an amplification. It doesn't mean that your depression is to be overlooked. What it does mean is you need to discern the level of amplification that the Kundalini will bring into it. I hope that helps. It looks like I'm still connected here. So, with regards to, and I'd like to say hello to Bruno Amadori. Hello, my friend. Nice to see you here. With regards to these belief systems and the Kundalini, and you can expect me to be cut off again. It's happened too many times now. So thank you, Amelia Santara, for jumping in. And anybody, feel free to call 347-934-0026. With regard to some of the more overt, shall we say, interactive spiritual disciplines such as Tai Chi, Qigong, all the way up to and including Reiki and even reading tarot cards or palm reading or things of that nature, that these are good. These are good. Reiki, because of the entity interaction, not so good, but not all Reiki people have, reach their hands up into the clouds and say, oh, healing spirits of the universe connected to my hands. If they do, well then, you get out, you jump off that table. Don't let them touch you. But if they don't, and ask them before you make the appointment, what do you do? Who are you reaching out to? Do you know what spiritual consciousness you're working with? And if they can't say they definitively know what they're working with, then I'll suggest that you don't work with them. But the other aspect of Reiki is it was developed by a man named Dr. Usui in Japan in the 1920s. And basically what he had was a Kundalini awakening experience. He lived a very, very ethical, high moral life as an MD in the slums, and he would treat people for free, and they'd trade chickens or eggs or something that for him to get paid, and he did a lot of beautiful, good, kind, loving things for people throughout a 20-year, over 20 years in the slums in that part of Japan. And one day he climbed up a mountain and he said, I'm not going to leave this cave until I reach some sort of enlightenment. And 3 weeks later he received the Kundalini awakening, which changed everything. And he didn't know what it was, just like, most people. And he called it Reiki, which in Japanese means life force. And so, this is, he had a Kundalini awakening, and he was able to do hands-on healing and things like that. And this legacy that he has left has become so commercialized. Get your Reiki mastership for $30.99 at Kmart Reiki Associates or whatever. Am I still here? Yeah. Okay. Hello, this is Chrism returning. Sorry about the skip. This phone seems to have like maybe a 10-minute delay, so I apologize. I see Bruno. You can continue the show. Yes. I don't know what happened to Santara. Santara's not here anymore. But anyway, so the Reiki thing became very, very commercialized and very, very steeped in greed and ego and many of the things that cause definitive problems within a Kundalini awakening experience. And so thusly the Kundalini healing or awakenings, there was a modification that occurred so that people reaching out into these areas would only get the lessons that they were able to metabolize. Many people who bought their Reiki masterships online and in other places, they didn't get the awakening, and they got to stick their hands up into the ethers and say, whatever, tap into my hands and let me be a healer. And that was fine. It didn't hurt them, so to speak. And so they just moved on to it when it, became not the newest thing anymore, and they jumped onto, you name it, archangelology or, some sort of a new, type of new age type of activity. So basically, do some research into a person who's doing Reiki before you let them touch you. Okay. The Kundalini can be activated through Reiki. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Reiki is not a valid option. It's maybe not the best option. I mean, unless you're really coming into Reiki, for the desire to do healing upon people and not become a quote-unquote famous healer. If you're putting a lot of ego into it because you want to be a famous healer, you want to be Edgar Casey of Reiki or something of that nature, then you may discover some challenges within that ideology. But other modalities too. Tarot cards. When I was early on in my process and I didn't know what the heck was going on, I was working in a medical clinic, and one of my supervisors gave me a pack of or a deck of tarot cards, and I didn't know anything about it. But I went ahead and learned how to do it, and I found out that I could do it very well. And it did give definitive answers to what I was experiencing, at least roundabout, shall we say, roundabout. Tarot is never, well, I shouldn't say never, but it's rarely is it totally definitive. You have to seek an interpretation of it. And within the, certain understandings of the tarot, you can have some positive experiences with that as far as getting specific types of information that run the gamut of the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual. I won't get into too much of the tarot, but I will suggest that you don't go for some of the like dolphin tarot, or not that it's bad. It's just I can't support it because I don't know anything about it. But I do know that like the Rider-Waite deck or the deck that I picked out for Amelia, that's a good deck. There's some good cards out there. Morgan Greer tarot deck is good. And this is for self-inquiry. This isn't so that you can set up shop, and say, Chrism Kundalini tarot reader, past, present, future, relation, all of that stuff. This is strictly for self-inquiry and for assistance for other people if they request it. And if you're finding that you have a propensity for accuracy within it. Some of the other things like the shamanics, I'm going to include use of plant guides or light-bearing plants. This is another way to get into the Kundalini, but it's a little more dangerous if you don't know what it is you're ingesting. So, for instance, I will not suggest light-bearing mushrooms, such as some that they're finding right now is that is able to repair the brain from a traumatic brain injury, and this would be the ones that they call.
Okay. What happened the last time was that just before Chrism was cut off, I actually lost my phone line as well. But although I was not on air, I could still see the studio. And when Chrism goes off, I keep two buttons keep flashing up: end episode or continue. So I had to keep pressing those as I am doing now, and in order to keep the show alive. And I could not go and Skype back in again. So that's what happened. So I'm sure there was a horribly long pause when you didn't know if the program was over or not. So hopefully I won't get cut off again. I don't know what's going on today. Sort of strange. I'm actually Skyping from Spain because we're on holidays. I'm on holidays here with John and my two youngest children. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. I've never been cut off before. As I was saying, though, I was brought up in the Catholic tradition, and around the age, somewhere between the ages of like 10, 11, 12, I began to become aware that there was dogma and rules and within the church. And interestingly enough, even way back then, it was the rules that pertained to the Divine Mother, to Our Lady, that I had great difficulty with. Okay, Chrism, hi.
Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry about this, folks.
No worries.
Okay.
What happened the last time was I got cut off just before you, so there was a big pause, I think, with nobody online.
Okay.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody, for your patience. Yeah, we're talking about psilocybin, Tim. I would not suggest people who are either going through the Kundalini or searching for Kundalini to use psilocybin as a plant helper, because that literally has the capacity to blow your seventh chakra open, and it's very, very, very hard, very, very painful to have that happen. And so, some of these things I won't suggest. Now, if you're looking at ayahuasca, which is a completely different type of light-bearing plant, actually it's a combination of a Liliana vine, which there are 17 known varieties of Liliana vine in the Amazon basin, and they mix that with another plant called chacruna, and the mixture, the tea that comes from the Liliana vine and the chacruna is what forms the basis for ayahuasca. And this is definitely it's a powerful experience. It's a very, very, very powerful experience. And it will help you to activate your Kundalini, if not activate you. Now, a lot of it's going to depend on how you have lived your life, what kind of karma you have, what kind of determination you have, how strongly involved are you in self-discovery and willingness to see yourself as you truly are. Okay, with all your fears, your baggage, and your some of the challenges that we have in life. And so, this requires a strong level of honest integrity within an individual. And so, depending upon that, will determine how far the ayahuasca will go in bringing an enlightenment experience to you. But ayahuasca is far preferable to psilocybin. Psilocybin, even though there's no guarantee that anybody doing psilocybin will have the seventh chakra blow, it's happened, and it's happened often enough in my experiences with people having Kundalini that I absolutely cannot recommend it. I can, however, if you really want to go that route, the short route, I can suggest the ayahuasca. It's a Class D drug. D is in dog, or D is in DEA drug in the United States. So you can get it in Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador, some of the Central American countries. It is a way to go. It is an option, because it's also called La Purga, and because it's called La Purga is due to the fact that a person, if they're not dieting correctly before they take it, they're going to be vomiting quite a bit, and even after, even for some folks, after you diet correctly, you're not you're vomiting, but you're not vomiting fluids or substances. You're vomiting energy. And if you're able to see a person that's vomiting during ayahuasca experience, especially during what we would term as the dry heaves, well, you can see that they're actually vomiting energy, and it's the energy of issues that they need to be letting go. The ayahuasca is very strong, depending on how it's made. But it's also quite effective in opening a person's eyes to who they are, how they are, what they need to do as they evolve spiritually. So ayahuasca is very positive. There's never been an OD, an overdose of ayahuasca. I think the reason it's illegal in the United States is simply because the powers that be don't really want us to know that much about ourselves. The last thing they want us is to be self-empowered. And this moves me into cannabis. Cannabis is experiencing a resurgence in North America and Canada in regards to its legality. And cannabis actually can bring a person into a state of receptivity within a divine practice. And let me move into the other room here. I'm probably going to get cut off really quick. Cannabis is not damaging. I just don't like the addictive aspect of it. I don't want a person to think, oh gosh, I haven't smoked a joint today, therefore I can't do my Kundalini practice. Kundalini is not dependent upon cannabis. Cannabis is just basically it's an entheogen which means plant helper, that
Kristen is gone again. It's actually interesting to hear, Kristen was mentioning earlier on, about our different pronunciations, and that, I would have said for Ascension A, and he pronounces it cannabis, whereas here in Ireland we call it cannabis. So to hear him going cannabis is really, really weird for me. I think cannabis sounds much, much cooler. But anyway, that be as if, So anyway, I suppose there's no point in going all the way up through all the different things that occurred for me within the context of the Catholic Church, but it was a very good relationship that I had. It was one of seeking God. It was one where I was trying to balance all the time that which I was being taught, the rules, what was not, and that which I was feeling was not the case. I didn't go along with all of the teachings that I would have been given through my church. And so even though I was never seeking Kundalini, even though I never did meditation, even though I never did any of those things, I was always seeking God. I was always searching for the truth. I was, I prayed. I was in... hello, Kristen, you're back.
Hi, I'm back. Let's see, from Tim, I think Kristen was avoiding the voice detection algorithms of the government. No. I wish this phone wouldn't shut off every 10 minutes or however long it is. So with the cannabis, cannabis is I'm not against its use, and it doesn't. We've got brain receptors that are designed specifically for cannabinoids. That means that as the human Homo sapien developed, in its hunter-gathering stages, that cannabis was consumed in however ways the early primate Homo sapien consumed it. And so there are brain receptors for cannabinoids within the human brain. So it's not absolutely foreign to our being. So, with that in mind, you can look at cannabis consumption in a light that that there's more safety to it than danger to it. I mean, it's a fairly common plant that millions of people are using for recreational use, and that's perfectly all right. For Kundalini, it can. Well, what I can tell you about Kundalini and cannabis is that if you take cannabis and then you look at the colors, the deep, rich, ruby red color, like a colored glass or a gem, and you look at that with the sun, it can have an effect upon you. The same with the blue. And if you have a deep, rich, ruby red, a sparkly ornament or something of that nature that really gives you a high quality of red, deep red, blood red, and then you look at that while you're on cannabis, then you can have an event that is deeply spiritual, depending upon you and depending upon your karma as well. It's not going to work that way for everybody, but it has worked that way for some. which leads me into some things that people think are spiritual that are absolutely not, such as alcohol. Alcohol is the worst thing you can do to try to get spiritual or to activate your Kundalini. Avoid alcohol at all costs. And that's the one thing here in the States that's legal. so it's like it's just not. It's so silly. But anyway, so stay away from the alcohol. Stay away from the tobacco unless you can get absolutely pure tobacco, which I think there's a brand called American Eagle that has no pesticides, no fillers, none of the stuff that some of the other cigarette companies put in to it. And then you basically only use that for purification. You don't use that as a habit. It's a tool. It's like a screwdriver. You're not always carrying a screwdriver around, right, when you're in the shower or something like that. So don't do that with a cigarette either. Just use it as a way of purification from entity contact, for one thing. I'm going to get cut off here pretty quick here, so please, just a little bit of patience on here. I'm having problems with paying the phone bill, and that's why my cell phone is missing in action today. I'm on a landline, and it appears this landline has some sort of a time delay on it, so I get about 10 minutes, and then it's going to cut off, and I'll call you right back. It'll take me about 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds to call you right back. And hopefully Amelia will step in if she can. She's on an iPad somewhere in the middle of the Mediterranean right now. So I noticed I can see Tim, your response, cannabis. Yes. We can. There's plenty of room for that type of humor. Any of the other drugs, such as methamphetamine or heroin or any of those things, are absolutely not helpful. LSD, people have had Kundalini awakening experiences from LSD. Once again, same story as psilocybin. If you want to blow the top of your head off and experience all the challenges that can come from that, well then, LSD, psilocybin, those types of things, are part of that. So there are plenty of entheogens within the shamanic cultures, but also let's look at the animal and the nature, the closeness that a shaman is with nature is fantastically close.
Whoops, Curtin is gone again, but he'll be back within a couple of seconds. Okay. What was I saying? I'm gone blank. I can't remember. I think. Yes, I was saying how that I hadn't been seeking Kundalini. I had never even heard of the word, and for many years, actually, before I had my Kundalini awakening event, I was within a Kundalini activation, but I had no idea that I was. So all of the phenomena and the physical symptoms that people speak of and that we all talk about, I had an awful lot of those without having any clue what they were about. And somebody mentioned their depression and a lot of the, not so much queers, but a lot of the, Chrism is back.
No, well, I mean, finish your thought. No. What?
Continue.
Okay, all right. So yeah. Any? Thank you, Bruno Amadori. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of your patience with this. I didn't expect this to occur. So hey, maybe it's giving us time to reflect a little bit on what's being said. Any of the other drugs, I don't recommend a drug lifestyle with regards to awakening the Kundalini, but I can recommend the shamanic belief system. I can recommend shamanic and other aspects of shamanism that will work well for the Kundalini. Everything from your plant, or not your plant, but your animal totem, to the different ways that the Shakti will communicate with the shaman. Everything from the different levels of spirituality within a shamanic background. When a shaman goes searching for a soul fragment, well, the shaman doesn't actually do that, but one of the shaman's power animals will do that. And these power animals can translate straight into a Kundalini animal, and that shaman can be led into the Kundalini path based upon that belief system. It's not that far to go, and in many cases, in shamanic tribal cultures, a person can't become a medicine person or a shaman for that tribe until they've had the Kundalini. It's a priority. And so, within that understanding, you can see that, Kundalini's not the big, mystery in some of these cultures that it is in the Western cultures. And so, within that context, you can understand that shamanism is a viable option. It is a viable option. Now, that doesn't mean that you just, you see the word shaman after somebody's name or before. Typically, they do it before, like it would be Shaman Chrism or Shaman whatever. Shamans also come with a lot of entities, and I won't recommend that you just jump on board of any shaman that comes through your town. You be careful, be discerning. Just because the shaman is a shaman doesn't mean that he has any more spiritual information than you do. By the fruit shall you know them, and so understand that and realize that, and don't just give over seniority of your body to the first shaman that comes to town. You are responsible for your body, and you need to really understand that within a Kundalini context. And which moves us into things of, say, the Sufi. The Sufi have a very clear understanding of Kundalini within their belief system. A very clear understanding. And when they're spinning like a whirling dervish spins, they're activating the first chakra. They're doing the things that will bring a Kundalini awakening experience in a positive venue. We look at the Sufis and we look at the level of love. Look at some of the poetry of Hafiz, Hafiz, or Rumi. Rumi was a Sufi. Okay. The level of love that's espoused within a Sufi context is tremendous. It's a wonderful way to come into the Kundalini through the Sufi understandings, and yet a lot of the Sufis are affiliated with Islam. And Islam at the moment, because of Western media, has a bad reputation for many of the people who aren't Islam. The media tends to compete religious belief systems against one another in order to justify, wars or whatnot. But you can look at Sufism as a form of Islam that is love-based and absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful for men and women, although, of course, it's still patriarchal, which is a problem. But as the race matures, we can get out of this patriarchal conundrum and begin to expand in an equal way towards men and women within a spiritual context. And so I will strongly, I'm a very big supporter of Sufism. I went to a Sufi thing this year, and yeah, it's very good. It's a positive way to look into the Kundalini, and I'm going to get disconnected pretty quick here, it looks like. So I will be right back.
Okay, well, it looks like he's getting some used to this being disconnected. It's very interesting, actually, to hear Clinton speak as well about the Sufi and the patriarchal, because that would have been the case in the Catholic tradition that I grew up in, and it still is, in fact. A lot of that has changed now, and women are more included in ceremonies and things, but it still basically is, run, controlled and organised by men. One of the interesting things that happened to me when I had my awakening event. I was coming up to, how old was I? I was coming up to 40, and it happened. It took a whole week. It was the most amazing week of my life. But what actually happened was I was given visions and experiences that I realized were from a Hindu background. For example, I saw visions of Hindu goddesses, and I had amazing visuals of things that I would never have seen before or have had any reference to. I heard the word Vishnu over and over, and when I heard that word, it had a very profound effect on me and on the energy and on the Kundalini. And so it was very interesting, because when I came to Kundalini Awakening, here's Chrism. Welcome back,
Go
Chrism.
ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I'm just saying, when I came to Kundalini Awakening Systems first, it was interesting that many people were having experiences and awakenings in the context of their religious upbringing, whereas what I had experienced during my awakening event was, I realized from a Hindu, my visions and all of that were not within the context of my upbringing. I was just explaining a little about that. Okay, continue, Chrism, because you'll get cut off again.
This is quite true. I mean, even though you're a Christian in this life, you may have been a Hindu in another life, or a Buddha, or Buddhist, or a any number of religions in the past, and the Kundalini may draw off of that rather than your current belief system, and this is a truth, and this is also something for you to consider. And so, really take as much judgment for other religions out of your expression and your feelings, because you may have been that Hindu, you may have been that Buddhist, you may have been that Christian, you may have been that Islamist. Don't have a judgment for belief systems. Let people have the freedom to believe as they need to believe at this time, because there's more to their story of having a belief system than what meets the eye. They had, many people are working through karma, so they, as they work through karma, they're guided towards a very specific belief system rather than choosing that. So, let's look at people that are born into a religion, born into Islam, born into Buddhism, born into Christianity. The choice that they made was before they took the body. That's when they made their choice. So, in that pre-incarnate experience, they figured out that, for me to burn some of this karma, I've got to be born a Christian, or I got to be born an Islamist, or any of the religions that are there. So, Vishnu is Sanskrit, Tim. Yep, it is. Well, it's not all about sound. Vishnu is like the foundation of the universe. But these things are what you were saying, Amelia, was quite correct, and which moves me into, let's see. So, folks, I'm going to have to leave this one at an hour. I'm sorry for all of the interruptions, but I'm going to have to let this go. I know it's going to cut me off really quick, so I want to say thank you to Amelia. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And if you have an interest, give me an email at kfireforall, that's KFIREFORALL at yahoo.com, and we can continue this topic, or I'll move on to another one. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great, beautiful day or night, depending on where you are. Thank you, Amelia, for your help. Bye-bye.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.